is one of Hyundai's best-selling models, and that's reason enough for this automaker to keep it fresh. The Kona first arrived on the scene in 2018, and now there's an all-new version for 2024. An equally all-new and all-electric version will be on its way, but for now there are two gasoline versions available. The regular Kona uses a 2-liter engine making 147 horsepower, and it comes in front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. But I've moved up to the N line, and with that I get a turbocharged 1.6-liter engine that makes 190 horsepower and 195 foot-pounds of torque. All-wheel drive is standard, and instead of the regular Kona's CVT, my transmission is an 8-speed automatic. It comes in 2 trim levels, and I have the top Ultimate one, which rings in at $38,499. There are some external cues that this is a sportier N-line. It gets the 19-inch N-line wheels, body-colored cladding, black mirrors, dual exhaust tips, unique front and rear fascias, and of course this spoiler. As with any vehicle, taste is subjective, and for me, the Kona's sharp-cut lines are a bit too sharp. When something's this in your face, it often doesn't age very gracefully, but of course we'll have to wait and see on that. One interesting thing is that some of these larger panels are made up of smaller ones fitted together. That raises the possibility of replacing individual ones in case of damage, rather than half the side of the car. I'm much fonder of the interior, where the N-line's goodies continue with the red accented seats and aluminum pedals. But beyond that, what really excites me about the Kona is just how simple and useful everything is. Hyundai went way above all my expectations on this one. For starters, while so many new models are designed with most functions stuffed into the center screen, the Kona gives me big simple dials, big buttons, big toggles. Look here. If I choose the climate auto setting, I can then pick the fan speed to be low, medium, or high. A lot of vehicles give you that option, but on most you have to burrow into submenus to find it. Here I just tap the button again, and as for that center screen, the menus and icons are intuitive and simple as well. The cargo compartment is a generous 723 liters, and that's before you fold the rear seats down for even more space. The cargo floor has 2 levels, so you can access a bit more space or tuck items under it out of sight. If the cargo cover is going to be in the way of large items, there are clips to store it against the seats. And there are grocery bag hooks, missing on so many vehicles. Unlike some competitors, the Kona actually puts the utility into sport utility vehicle. Sit up front and you'll likely run out of stuff to store before you run out of room to store it. You can stash items in the open dash tray, maybe your scarves or your mittens as the weather gets colder. And this center console is brilliant. If you got a drink, the cup holders slide out. If you don't, slide them back for more storage space. And the divider pulls out if you need a place to put longer items. Now, all of that said, there is a trade-off because there isn't a gear shift lever taking up console space. It's on this column stock, and you twist it for drive, neutral, or reverse, and push the end for park. I'm not that keen on it, but I've seen worse. At least it's not a push-button shifter, which is my least favorite of all. And we're all different, and of course some of you are just gonna love this twist shift just to spite me. Hyundai said it's made the front seats thinner to give those in the rear chairs a bit more room. Even slimmed down, they're still comfortable on longer drives, but even so, the rear seats are still a bit tight, especially if those in the front have theirs pushed back. But headroom is generous in both the first and second rows. This new Kona is longer and wider than the outgoing version, and with a longer wheelbase. Unusually, its platform was designed around that upcoming electric propulsion and then modified for the gasoline versions rather than the other way around. The turbocharged engine is a peppy little thing, and it moves the Kona around just fine. But I'd be happier if its acceleration was a bit smoother, instead of a split second of nothing, and then it takes off turbo lag style. But once it gets going, the transmission shifts seamlessly. Steering wheel paddles let you shift sequentially for a sportier feel. The N-Line features an independent multi-link rear suspension in place of the plain Kona's rear torsion beam. Overall, the ride is smooth and well planted, although it can get a bit jumpy over rough pavement. The all-wheel system automatically distributes torque as needed. In really sticky situations, such as deep snow, you can lock the all-wheel for maximum traction at speeds up to 60 kilometers an hour. The steering is smooth and the brakes stop confidently. Overall, it's not a sports machine the way the Veloster N-Line was, but it's a good daily commuter with more power and a bit more edge over its non-turbo Kona sibling. It also has a neat parlor trick. When you stop in front of a parking spot, you can get out and use the key fob to move the Kona in and then turn off the engine. When it's time to go, it takes itself out of the spot. It doesn't steer, so you have to start off straight, but it could be handy in tight parking spots, providing you aren't so close that the next person can't open a door. Its usefulness is still limited, but it's another stepping stone towards the idea of a true self-driving car. So now there's a new Kona, and while it isn't perfect, it's a decent driver, it's peppy, and it has one of the most useful interiors I've seen in a vehicle that's supposed to be all about being useful. Having driven this all-new version, it looks like the Kona will continue to be one of Hyundai's best-selling vehicles in Canada, and if so, it's earned it. For Driving.ca, I'm Jill McIntosh, and for more news and reviews, be sure to visit us on social media, Instagram and Twitter.